October 7, 2014 from AT&T Park in San Francisco, California. It was game 4 of the NLDS between the Washington Nationals and the San Francisco Giants. And on the mound for the Giants was Ryan Vogelsong. On the mound for the Nationals was Gio Gonzalez. So Vogelsong came out to pitch the top of the first. He struck out the first batter he saw as he set down Spawn, and then he got Rendon out. He did walk Worth, but he got LaRoche out, so he got through the first inning with no hits. Of course, that one runner from the walk. And now in the bottom of the first, Gio Gonzalez got the first two batters he saw out, and then he let up a single to Posey, and then a single to Pence, but then Pablo Sandoval popped out, and so after one, it was 0-0, although the Giants had picked up two hits in the bottom of the first. So now in the top of the second, Vogelsong would set down the Nationals in order, so now we went to the bottom of the second, and Brandon Bell popped out for the first out of the inning. And now the second batter, Brandon Crawford, would single. So now we had a runner on and one out. So then Perez came up and he grounded into a fielder's choice. And Crawford ended up safe on second due to an error. So now we had two runners on. And then Vogelsong bunted and he ended up getting on base. So now we had the bases juiced and Blanco came up and he walked. So Gio Gonzalez walked the first run of this game in. So it was 1-0 Giants off the walk. And now Joe Panik came up and he grounded out, but Perez was able to score and the runners moved over into scoring position. So now it was 2-0 Giants with 2 on and 2 out. Posey came up and he grounded out, and so Gonzalez now was out of the inning, but not after having let up 2 runs, as the score was now 2-0 Giants after 2 innings of play. So now in the top of the third, Vogelsong would set down the Nationals in order, and he actually struck out the first 2 batters of the inning, Cabrera and Gonzalez. So now in the bottom of the third, Gonzalez would set down the Giants in order. So now after 3, it was still 2-0 Giants over the Nationals. Now in the top of the fourth, Vogelsong would set down the Nationals in order, as he actually struck out the first batter of the inning, Rendon, and he had now set down the Nationals in order twice in a row. So now in the bottom of the fourth, Gonzalez would set down the Giants in order. He actually struck out the last batter he saw, and that was Vogelsong, to get out of the inning. So after 4, it was 2-0 Giants over the Nationals. Now in the top of the fifth, Vogelsong would end up letting up a leadoff single to Desmond. So he had 1 on, no out. Bryce Harper came up and he hit a double, and Desmond scored. So it was now 2-1 as the Nationals had cut the Giants' lead in half. Now the next couple batters would end up getting out, and then Scherholtz would end up pinch hitting for Gonzalez, and he walked. So we had a runner on base and 2 outs, and Spawn grounded out. And so now we would go to the bottom of the fifth, and Tanner Roark would come into pitch, being that Gonzalez had been pinch hit for. So Roark would end up letting up a leadoff single to the first batter he saw, that was Blanco, and then he let up a single to Panik, so we had 2 on and no out. Now Posey would come up with 2 runners on and no outs, and he would end up getting out, but Blanco moved to third, and that would bring up Pence, because now we had runners on the corners with 1 out, and Pence would end up reaching base, and now we had the bases juiced for Pablo Sandoval, and he popped out. So now Blevins would come in to relieve Roark, and he got Brandon Bell to strike out to end the inning. So after 5, it was still 2-1 Giants over the Nationals, as the Nationals had actually added a run in the top of the fifth. So now in the top of the sixth, Vogelsong would end up getting the first 2 batters out, but then he would be relieved by Lopez. So Lopez would come into the game and he'd get LaRoche out. So now we move to the bottom of the sixth. Blevins still on the mound, and he would end up getting the first 2 batters out, and then Duffy would end up pinch hitting for Lopez, and he would get out. So Blevins set down the Giants in order. And now in the top of the 7th, Hunter Strickland would come in to pitch for Lopez, who had been pinch hit for in the bottom of the 6th. He would end up getting Desmond out. So now with 1 out, Bryce Harper came to the plate, and Bryce Harper took Strickland deep, and this game was now tied up at 2 runs apiece, as Bryce Harper was responsible for all the Nationals' RBIs in this game. Wilson Ramos then got a single, but Cabrera struck out, and now Zimmerman would pinch hit for Blevins, and he got out. And so we would go to the bottom of the 7th, but not before the Nats had tied this game up at 2. So now Matt Thornton was in to pitch for Blevins, who had been pinch hit for in the top half of the inning, and he would end up getting Blanco to ground out, but then Panik got a single, and then Posey got a single, and so now Barrett would come in to relieve Thornton. So now Hunter Pence would end up walking. So we had the bases juiced, and then a wild pitch by Barrett would let Joe Panik come across home, and the Giants took the lead at 3-2 over the Nationals. Sandoval was then walked on purpose and was bases juiced once again, and Sariano would come in to relieve Barrett, and he would get Brandon Belt to line out to end the inning. So after 7, it was 3-2 as the Giants had scored on a wild pitch. And in the top half of the inning, Bryce Harper had hit that home run. So right after the Nationals had tied things up, the Giants took back the lead with a bunch of utter craziness. So now we're at the top of the 8th, and Sergio Romo came in to pitch for Strickland, and he would end up setting down the Nationals in order. So now in the bottom of the 8th, we had Sariano still on the mound, and he ended up letting off a leadoff single to Crawford, and then Perez sacrificed to move Crawford into scoring position in second base. Ishikawa then pinch hit for Romo, but he grounded out. But he moved Crawford over to third. But now there was 2 outs and a runner 90 feet away from home, and Blanco grounded out. And so the 8th inning came to a close, and now we are going to the top of the 9th. The score 3-2 Giants over the Nationals as Santiago Casilla would come in and look to pick up the save in this 1-run game. He got LaRoche out, and then he struck out Desmond. He walked Bryce Harper, and so now Wilson Ramos would come to the plate, and he represented the go-ahead run as the tying run was on first base, and Wilson Ramos would ground out, and Casilla gets the save, and the Giants get the win in this 1-run ball game with the final score 3-2 as the San Francisco Giants advance to the NLCS, where they will be facing the St. Louis Cardinals this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. But in this game, Ryan Vogelsong pitched 5 2/3 innings. He only allowed 1 earned run and 2 hits. He had 4 strikeouts and 2 walks. Of course, he didn't get the win because Hunter Strickland came in a couple pitchers later as Lopez had come in before him. But Strickland ended up letting up that home run to Bryce Harper, and so he gets the win because he was then the pitcher of note when the Giants took back the lead in the bottom half of that inning in the 7th there. Casilla got the save. Thornton got the L as he let up. He let the runners on base. Of course, it was Barrett, though, with his wild pitch that cost them, but the runner was scored to Thornton, so he gets the loss. And at the plate in this game, Joe Panik was 2 for 4 with 1 run and 1 RBI. Posey was 2 for 4. Crawford was also 2 for 4. He had a run. Blanco was 1 for 4. He had an RBI. Of course, no one got the RBI for that winning run, as that was the wild pitch. Bryce Harper had an amazing game in the loss. He was 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 1 run. He had that home run and he had a double. So he was the only player in this game to get an extra base hit, and he also had a home run as well. So quite the effort by the Nationals, but they fall short as the San Francisco Giants are heading back to the NLCS, where they will face the St. Louis Cardinals. And the final score in this game is Giants 3, Nationals 2, as the Giants win in 4 games in this 5-game series.